Joe Biden's campaign is gaslighting the United Corporations of America. When I say gaslight, I mean Joe Biden's campaign is very, very, very obviously trying to make down as up as down, straight as sideways, and reality as it's no big deal. And I, frankly, and status quo, even though it's not the most comfortable thing to do, even though we could be attacked, I and status quo have frankly been leading the charge for weeks now of reporting, and I say reporting because I think it's backed by facts in front of us, that these are not gaffes that we're seeing from the former vice president. A gaffe is when you put your foot in your mouth. A gaffe is when you say things you should not say. A gaffe is when you step in it. And Joe Biden has been known to do that throughout his career. A gaffe is not stumbling over your words. A gaffe is not closing your eyes and quasi-falling asleep during interviews. A gaffe is not forgetting the president that you worked for, President Obama. A gaffe is not forgetting where you are. A gaffe is not misnaming the two cities that just had massacres. These are not gaffes. And I think the danger in allowing the media to pretend they're gaffes, the danger in allowing Joe Biden's campaign to gaslight the American people and pretend, oh, this is just Joe being Joe, is if you trust your eyes right in front of you, well, these gaffes, i.e. clear cognitive impairment, are only going to get worse. I mean, think about it. Think about physically. If you're just talking about being older and physically, the strain of a campaign. I mean, I was 30 when I was traveling around the country for the Young Turks on this campaign trail, and I was drained. I'm sure I'll be drained now at almost 33 if I get the money to travel to cover this campaign. But think about mentally, if you have an impairment, or if you're just age-related decline, which happens to the best of us, the more you travel, the more burden on you, the more stress of a campaign, the more it's going to happen. And just to remind you what I'm talking about, for those of you who didn't watch yesterday, take a look at Joe Biden speaking the other day.
Because they invaded another country and annexed a significant portion of it called Crimea. Right. He's saying that it was my boss, it was his fault. He's saying that it was my boss, it was his fault.
President, my boss. President, my boss. Is that a gaffe? Or is that somebody who has a real memory problem and somebody who cognitively is not all there? Again, I keep saying this. This is not meant to mock Joe Biden. I don't wish him anything as far as mental illness, physical illness. I mean, I don't like him. I don't like his politics, but, I ain't that cold-blooded. If that one's not enough for you, here's another one.
Where they're on Medicaid, they automatically be enrolled with no cost. In addition to that, we also have a mechanism to control drug prices. It's not, we're no longer using chemical-based things. All this thing we're dealing with cancers and other issues relating to the immune system are bio-oriented. They're very expensive, and we should set up a system, which I propose, which I will if I'm elected president, that allows the folks at the folks at Health and the Health Department.
So, sorry if you're hearing this twice because you watched yesterday, but Joe Biden forgot what the Department of Health and Human Services is called. When Joe Biden tried to say the word mechanism, we saw what happened there. And frankly, every single day, it's one more thing. And again, I hate to keep saying disclaimer, but I just want to be clear. what we're talking about here is not to mock the man. It is, do you want to beat Donald Trump or do you not? Because this is only going to get worse. But the even the worst part to me, honestly, is, and Jen could kind of talk about this because Jen, before Status Quo existed, was a volunteer for Justice Democrats and Real Brand New Congress. So that she was dealing, and they were dealing with many different candidates. So you have a lot of interaction with the candidates if you're a volunteer or if you're high up as a paid staffer in a campaign. So you're the one in meetings with them. You're the one talking to them in meetings, on the phone, all that. So you have the most interaction with Joe Biden. If you're a volunteer, well, maybe not a volunteer, but if you're working on his campaign. So they must see what we're seeing in public events, even more so, because they're with him way more than anyone else sees him publicly. But Joe Biden's campaign, their answer to this, and frankly, his wife's answer to this, because his wife obviously sees him more than anyone else, is to pretend what we're seeing with our own eyes isn't real. This, an email from the Biden campaign. In case you missed it, they're sending out a CBS News article. So what? South Carolina Democrats not bothered by Joe Biden's gaffes. With a link to a news article. This from his communications chairperson. And it's not just that they're not bothered. Every voter asked about gaffes in this story talks about how Joe Biden is real, has heart, and understands them. And this is, again, tweeting out this story. So what? South Carolina Democrats not bothered by Joe Biden gaffes. And by the way, I don't just blame Joe Biden's campaign for basically whitewashing what anyone with two eyes can see. I blame the media outlets printing this crap and even allowing it to be spun that these are gaffes. How is it a gaffe to forget the president that you worked for? How is it a gaffe to not be able to speak, to be stuttering through your words? Not in that one clip I showed you, it was every single point he was making. He can't say the word methodical or mechanism, excuse me. He can't remember the Department of Health and Human Services. He's closing his eyes because he's forgetting. And you have MSNBC, CNN, CBS. When I say that the media doesn't cover these critical issues, they cover up these issues, this is case in point. They are covering up what every single person with their own eyes is seeing. And I got news for you, folks. It's very, very dangerous because it's September in 2 days. That would mean you're October, November, December, January. Little over 5 months left till the Iowa caucus. If Joe Biden remains in the race, I mean, whether we like it or not, it's quite possible that he could win the Iowa caucus. Not definite, but it's possible, right? It's definitely possible. Well, you want somebody winning the Iowa caucus? That it's very likely that if the Iowa caucus is 5 months from now, then you're talking 7 months from then. What I find so troubling is his wife, his campaign, the media, who all claim, you heard Jill Biden, she said, even if you like another candidate more, even if you like somebody's health care plan more, you like their issues more, hold your nose and vote for Joe. Because at the end of the day, the bottom line is we got to beat Trump. Well, if that's the Joe Biden campaign and his wife's view, you are putting this country, also known as the United Corporations of America, at grave risk by putting forward your husband when he's not well to do it. And, I've already gotten attacked on Twitter, Jordan, this is beneath you to talk like this, and, you're not a doctor and this and that. I don't pretend to be a doctor. I'm not diagnosing him with something in specific. But as a reporter and someone with two eyes and someone who's not afraid of losing access to Joe Biden's campaign, so make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. This is why the media won't accurately start asking questions or start pointing out, this doesn't look like gaffes. This looks like there's something going on here. Why? Because they don't want to lose access to his campaign. They know where their bread is buttered. They're going to lose access. They won't be able to talk to Biden's campaign officials. They might not get in to his events. They won't get interviews with his campaign people. And it's all an access game because the corporate media is a for-profit racket. A for-profit racket. And the other thing here is very simple when it comes to Joe Biden. Does anyone think if the problem in 2016, wasn't so much that Donald Trump got more votes, he lost the popular vote by 3 million voters, folks. If anyone thinks that the problem was that Donald Trump got more people, no. The problem was Hillary Clinton did not bring out the full base of the Democratic Party. Why was that? Because she's not inspiring and she was corrupt. Oh, wonderful. Jimmy's going live too. What a day. If the problem was a lack of inspiration, how is that going to get any better? Do you think people are going to be inspired to come out with someone or come out for someone that can't construct a sentence, that's stuttering over their words, that doesn't know where he is? I don't know about that. I don't think that's a formula for success. And I think his campaign, frankly, playing with some real fire here.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.